It was a time of castles and knights, peasants and guilds, monasteries and monks, cathedrals and wars, and horrible events like famines and plagues that killed millions upon millions of people. All these things happened between approximately 500 CE and 1500 CE, a time we call the Medieval Ages. People who lived during the Middle Ages were divided into three distinct levels of the social class system. Let's take a look at how the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class lived in the medieval world. At the very top of the upper class were the royalty, the monarchs, kings and queens, and the Pope. Monarchs and popes reigned supreme in Europe during the Middle Ages. The monarchs had control over the land resources, and the Pope was the head of the Christian Church. In the Middle Ages, almost everyone was a member of the Church. This gave the Pope a lot of power. Next came the nobility, or the aristocracy. This level was composed of wealthy landowners and knights. These individuals were usually related to royalty or held high offices in government. Bishops and other top church officials were also considered part of the upper class. They too enjoyed a great deal of power and influence in society. Daily life for those in the upper class was pleasant, at least in comparison to everyone else's lives. Many in the upper class lived in large castles and had staff to clean, cook and serve them grand meals. As a member of the nobility, you were expected to fight wars for the king, but if you were captured, you could be ransomed rather than killed, which was another benefit to being a nobleman. The middle class was made up of business owners, artisans, clergymen, and lawyers. They were also known as the bourgeoisie, or the merchant classes. They were individuals who had achieved some degree of wealth. People in the middle class often had a higher level of education and were able to participate in civic activities and politics. They typically lived in towns and cities and had more opportunities to work in skilled trades and professions. The lower class, also known as the peasantry or the working class, was comprised of individuals who had little to no access to resources. They mostly lived in rural areas and small villages and were largely dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. Much of their time was spent tending to fields, livestock, and gardens. They had limited access to education and resources and were generally restricted to working as laborers for the wealthy upper classes. Each of the levels had their own privileges and responsibilities in society, and it shaped the social, economic, and political dynamics of the Middle Ages.